we have a leadership crisis. Look around us, politically, economically, within our education systems. Every day we are hearing, that's such poor leadership. We don't have a leader. They're just not quite a good enough leader. And the reason for that is these patterns that are emerging. Okay? So what can we do about it? Because here's the thing, we have to do something about it. We can't just sit here and continue to wait and continue to hope and then blame everyone else why there aren't any leaders. So here's what I propose. I propose a model that I was lucky enough to be exposed to when I was 18 years old. And this model was created and implemented by one of the most incredible leaders and one of the most incredible men I know called Jeremy Edwards. And he created a place called SportsChallenge Leadership Academy. And within this academy, he created a model. And that model was a holistic model. It's simple, it's easy, but we're not applying it. And his model was one where leadership should be learned, it should be modeled, and it should be taught. Now, Jeremy was everything I thought I was. He was loud, he was outgoing, dude was a natural leader. I'm like, me too, great, we have the same label. Here was the thing, he had got to being loud, outgoing, gaining followers, being a leader by learning. This man's favorite phrase in the entire world was research shows. So he is consistently learning about leadership from experts around the world. He is then modeling that for his sons, for his friends, for the people he's teaching. He's modeling that every single day. But here's the key part of it. He doesn't just stop there, he's teaching it. And that's what we have to do. At times we're learning, at times we're modeling, but how often are we teaching? And here's the danger with modeling. Modeling is essentially you're going to copy the person who's doing what you're doing. Now, you can copy people and you can copy them really well. But what if what they're doing is wrong? You're just being really, really good at being really, really bad. And that's another habit we've got into. Right? We take what has traditionally happened and we keep doing it and we're like, look how well I'm doing it. That person did it. You're both terrible, okay? So we have to change that. We have to have a reason for why we're behaving the way that we are, why we're modeling the way we are, and how we're going to teach it. Here's the other great news. We have a model for teaching. We have a model for teaching. Think back to the way you learnt math. Think back to the way you learnt English. Think back to the way you learnt anything. And here's how you learnt it. Yes, I'm telling you how you learnt it, so don't push back on that, all right? There's a truth. There is an aim, there's somewhere you're trying to get to. So it's the ability to do mathematical equations in algebra. That's your truth. In the classroom, experiences are created in which you practice things that you can then reflect upon to get better at it. Same as in English. You're not just handed Shakespeare and said, go ahead, give it a go, much like we like to hand out leadership positions. Hey, you're good at that. You can now be a leader. We don't do that in the classroom. We give people an opportunity to get better at things. Then we tell them how to. We help them out. We say, try it again. Practice it like this. Give this a go. And we keep going around in this process. That's how we should be teaching leadership. That's how we should be learning leadership. Because here's the thing. When we get good at something, usually a leadership title comes with it. So now I'm an expert in biology. They're like, oh, be a leader as well. No one taught me. No one told me how to. We didn't do this process. We did it for biology. We didn't do it for leadership. How am I supposed to lead? Most of the time, poorly. That's how we've got here. So if this is the model for how I think we should teach leadership, all right, what does that actually look like? All right? Take a moment. Lots of brain activity for you guys here. Take a moment and think about how good a leader you think you are. Now, I'm not going to make you share it, so you can bump up your score a little bit if you want. But, give yourself a score out of 10. All right? I like to give myself a solid 8. I'm probably closer to a 7, but a solid 8 when I don't have to tell people. All right? And let's break that down. What does that actually look like? All right? I believe that we've got to break down leadership into parts the same way we do with everything else that we teach, right? We've got to break down this truth and create experiences within which we can learn tangible skills. So number one, I would argue that empathy, and research shows this, is a very key component, all right, to leadership. Now I'm going to start out being honest. I would score myself a solid 1 out of 5 on empathy. I am horrific at this. Always have been, not always will be. Because I believe it can be taught to me, I believe it is being taught to me, and I believe I can learn it. Here's the thing with empathy. In the old traditional models of leadership where you just copy what everyone else is doing, empathy looks like something that I don't really like. It often looks like being quiet. It often looks like listening. And it often looks like crying. Really unfortunate things I don't appreciate. And I had that model taught me by an incredible woman called Liz Costa. She works at SportsChallenge, and she's another person who models leadership like no one I've ever seen before. But here's where the danger of just modeling would get you with her. You'd think she was weak. You'd think she was maybe insignificant. You maybe wouldn't even think she's a leader, because you wouldn't see her out front. You wouldn't see her on a stage. You'd see her talking one-on-one with someone. You'd see her sitting quietly reflecting with people. You would very often see her crying, okay? This would happen a lot. And a lot of us would walk away and be like, oh, what a poor leader. We're wrong, though. We're wrong. Because what she's doing is showing us the perfection of what I believe are the tangible skills that we can use for empathy, all right? So what are these tangible skills? These are not exclusive, and they're not intensive, okay? These are just the basic ones that I think will help build us towards being more empathetic. So we've got active listening. We learned how to read and write. Who learned how to listen? Right? How weird is that? We get told to go listen. How do you do that? Right? Sit quietly. Brilliant. That's not listening. That's sitting quietly. Okay? So listening, we can actually work on different things. So these are things I was challenged to. Right? Wait 5 seconds before speaking when someone's finished a sentence. Okay? Have less airtime than the person you're speaking to. So I was challenged to speak 1 to every 3 parts of the people I was leading. Now, I'm a soccer coach. I like to win. I'm up at about 5 to 1 most of the time, hence my issue with empathy. But we're working on it. Okay? So these are skills that we can teach, we can practice. In fact, we do at SportsChallenge. We take kids from across the country, across the world at times, and we teach them how to listen to each other. Hey, every time you've had a conversation, take a note of 3 things you learned about that person. And next time, see if you can bring that up in conversation. We're teaching them to listen. We're making them more empathetic. We teach them words and phrases. How to use and instead of but. How to say, go on, tell me more. Repeating back something that somebody's just told you. You're actively listening. You've got these now verbal communication skills you can use. You can practice them. Right? We put people in a situation where people of different ethnicities, religions, genders, backgrounds, everything are put together, and we make it safe to learn about each other. So they have a cross-cultural understanding. And then you practice, and you practice, and you practice, and you will get better at empathy. So think about it. How good are you actually at empathy? And how good are you actually a leader if you're not actively doing these things? We can teach them. We should be teaching them. So let's delve even deeper. Conflict resolution. One of the things I think I'm very great at, I would have given myself a 6 out of 5 on this. As you can see, I did well in math. But I really thought I was great at this. I can shout louder than everyone, and most of the time I won arguments. What I soon realized is that actually meant that I was really good at conflict, not necessarily the resolution part of it. So, again, when you're scoring yourself on these things, do we actually know what the concept is? And most of the time we don't. So when we're telling people, go resolve that conflict, go be empathetic, it's like, what does that mean? Right? So again, we break it down. We teach ways of how to lead a vote, how to lead a debate, how to have an argument. Because how can I expect a captain of my team or a leader in my community to resolve a conflict when they've never learnt it? When they've never actually practiced it? When we haven't taught them words, phrases, and things they can say to prompt discussion, to have debates, and to solve them? We haven't taught them public speaking. So let's do it. Empathy's up there, so obviously I'm not as great at conflict resolution as I thought I was. Non-verbal communication. You can always say, don't stand there with your arms crossed. But what do I do instead? I don't know, wave your arms. No, teach them, practice it. All right, when you're talking to someone, if it's a student, tell them, hey, just something to think about. I know we're having a normal conversation. You can use your hands like this. You could do this. This shows you're uninterested. or whatever it is. Those are tangible things you can teach, which when they're now in a conflict situation, they can utilize. How can they put their body in a position that stops a conflict? How can they encourage conversation? We can teach all of these things. And again, active listening. These things are all connected. We get better at one, we can get better at the other. So again, where are you at? And where can you be? And where can you teach it? Motivation. Now, I know we all want to be our own self-critic, but I am really good at this. I like this one, okay? And this was one that I might have been natural at, which is great. But it didn't make me a great leader. I really thought I was a great leader. It didn't make me a great leader, though. I was just good at one facet of things. But here's what we believe, right? To teach motivation, it's not just your rah-rah cheerleading or drill sergeant, let's go here. It might work for some people. But I know the introverts in this room are like, I hate when people motivate me like that. I hate that. But that's what we believe, heck, especially in the athletic world, right? The louder I shout, the better quotes I can get, the most amazing movie I can show you, I'm a motivator. No. That works for maybe 1% of the population. We're all different, okay? But what we do know is that research shows that autonomy, mastery, and purpose is what makes people motivated. Okay, so what that looks like tangibly is filling people's emotional fuel tanks. We all have a fuel tank, all right? How happy or sad we are. The happier we are, the more likely we are to learn and achieve. The sadder we are, the less likely. It's pretty much as simple as that. So if I'm a leader, I need to make sure that I know, A, how full the fuel tank is of my followers, but B, how to fill those. So again, I have to have empathy because I've got to understand them. And I've got to listen to them, because some people might need a fuel tank with a note. Some might need candy. I need Skittles, all right? Whatever it is, I need to make sure my followers, right, are fueled. They're fueled up. They're ready to go. Now they're more likely to be motivated. We teach a mistake ritual. It's something that can erase what's happened before so you can move on and have a positive outcome going forward. It's something as simple as brush it off. Make up your own, whatever it is. But we teach that, and then we show people how to practice it, how to utilize it, and now they're more motivated, because when they make a mistake, it's all right. We brush it off. All right? Motivation. You've got a goal set. Now, I know everyone hates goal setting. I'm aware of it. Everyone does it. Essentially, you just write something on a piece of paper, and then you throw that piece of paper away. New Year's resolutions included. But what if goal setting is smarter, right? It's specific, it's measurable, it's accountable, it's realistic, it's in a time frame, and it's based on your effort. What if you make people goal set for everything? What are you going to have for breakfast? How many times are you going to hold a conversation? How many times are you going to look at your phone that day or not look at your phone? You goal set so it becomes such a habit that your followers are doing it, so that you know what motivates them, because it's their goals and getting to their goals. That's motivation. The other part of motivation is understanding that energy is contagious. Well, how do you teach that? Simple as this, right? They did research on New York subway. 2 people feeling about an 8 out of 10 positively are sitting on a subway, and somebody feeling a 3 out of 10 sits in between them. Within a 15-minute journey, their heart rates sync up, and the 2 people who are feeling great walk off the subway and they feel not so great. That is scientific. I'm sure there's a lot more detail to it, but in general, that is scientific. Okay, energy is contagious. So when you want to motivate someone, you need to already have had contagious energy that's positive, that's hype, okay, so that you're not having to suddenly build them up and motivate them. So we teach how you can do that. Different ways, different phrases, different emotions, and an awareness of that. So we can be better motivators. So again, ask yourself, if you really think you're a good leader, how good are you at this? How can you get better? My favorite concept, grit. The passion and perseverance towards a long-term goal. This is kind of a key phrase and a key thing right now in the world of sport. Right? You think about someone like Diana Nyad, who swam from Cuba to America. What's incredible about this woman's story is that it was on her 5th attempt. The woman got in the water and swam it 4 times before, saw America, couldn't make it, got on a boat, said, oh, I'll give it another go. Right? That's insane. No, that's grit. Okay? And so research is showing that grit is actually the defining factor between success and not success, rather than intelligence and talent. Right? So everyone's peaked up because they're like, right, I want to succeed. So here's how it goes. You've got to possess a growth mindset. So number one, got to find out what a growth mindset is. Long story short, it's understanding that failure is not fatal. Right? So we practice that. We practice that by having mistake ritual. We practice that by having positivity. We practice that by motivating, by positive self-talk, what that sounds like, what that looks like. Okay? We use our goal setting, because how can you have passion and perseverance towards something you haven't goal set for? All right? So we break down this incredibly amazing concept, and we make it tangible. You can learn it, I can learn it, we can teach it, and we can become better leaders, and we can make better leaders. It's tangible. It's not just saying, hey, go be gritty. Brilliant. I would love to just go and be gritty, because it means I'm going to succeed. How? Here's your answers. Here's how we do that. So here's what I'm saying. Leadership isn't simple. It is far from simple, but it is crucial. And so we have this really important concept. We have this really important matter. We have this crisis at hand where we don't have enough of these good leaders, but yet we have a way we can solve that. And so what does that mean to you? It means that you embody the holistic leadership approach. It means that you go out and you search and you learn leadership. You then go and model it. And whoever you are, student or not, teacher or not, you teach it. And you teach it tangibly. And we've got to push for this to become in the common core of all of our education, okay, as well as ourselves. So instead of having good and bad leaders, we have good leaders and not yet leaders. People who are just not there yet, who haven't learnt it yet. Because I want to challenge you guys to start being leaders in leadership. Thank you very much.